Hi there and welcome to Tech Life, a channel where I aim to review everything from selfie sticks to laptops to IDs for coding, video editing, software for producing thumbnails, essentially anything tech related. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you have anything that you think I should review, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to review that product. So in this short video, we'll be looking at DeepSeek. DeepSeek is an AI model created by a Chinese startup. It recently overtook OpenAI in the USA for the most downloaded free app in the Apple Store. DeepSeek's creator claims to have produced a model that is as powerful as all the other current AI models, but they claim that they've created this model at a fraction of the cost. DeepSeek, is rumored to have cost somewhere in the region of about $6.5 million. The model that is causing all the hype is called DeepSeek R1. The R stands for reasoning. DeepSeek is a reasoning model. OpenAI also has its own reasoning model called O1, and DeepSeek claims that it is as good, if not better, than O1. DeepSeek's creators claim that it is trained with far fewer chips than its competitors, and they claim that R1 is 96% cheaper to run than OpenAI O1. A reasoning model handles complex queries by breaking them down into smaller steps and therefore answering the user's query. The reasoning model spends time apparently thinking about the solution. That thinking time could be a few seconds or it may be slightly longer, it might be a few minutes. During this thinking process, the model is performing step-by-step analysis through a process known as chain of thought. R1 actually shows this chain of thought as it's going through this process. DeepSeek seems to have come out of nowhere, but in reality, V1 version 1 of DeepSeek actually came out in January 2024. DeepSeek version 2, V2, was the one that people really started taking note of, and this was released back in June 2024. And then DeepSeek version 3 was released in December 2024. And that led on to DeepSeek R1.0, which was released in January of 2025. And then R1 is the first of the reasoning models. So DeepSeek R1.0 led on to DeepSeek R1, and that came out most recently. DeepSeek is an open source project, so the code is open source and downloadable. So in this video, I'll be showing you 3 different ways to use DeepSeek. The first of those methods will be to use DeepSeek online. A lot of YouTubers are making videos, and in those videos they recommended that you don't use DeepSeek online, and they claim that the reasoning behind this is because the DeepSeek is a Chinese company, and therefore your data could be obtained by the Chinese authorities. This is a valid point, but what a lot of these YouTubers don't point out or acknowledge is that the USA authorities can and do illegally copy and store all your data. Everything from phone calls to interactions with social media, anything you type into ChatGPT or Gemini can and probably is being copied by the NSA. So if you prepare to use ChatGPT and Gemini online, there's no real reason why you shouldn't be using DeepSeek online. I'll leave a link for a couple of videos on my channel which go into really good detail regarding what the NSA have been getting up to over the last 10-15 years and the data that they capture or do have the ability to capture. But for now, let's concentrate on DeepSeek. So you can use DeepSeek models locally as well as online, and the benefit of being able to use the models locally is that your data is completely safe. It doesn't go online, it doesn't go to any Chinese servers, and anything you type within DeepSeek stays within your own sort of hardware in your environment. So with ChatGPT, you can't run it locally. The only way you can run ChatGPT and I think Gemini is online. So there's no functionality, as far as I know, at the moment that allows you to be able to download a ChatGPT model or a Gemini model and run it locally. So I'll show you two ways of how to run DeepSeek locally, but first we can look at how to run DeepSeek online. So if you go to your favorite browser and you can either search or you can type in deepseek.com, so that we can do DeepSeek, and it's this first one up here. So we click on Start Now, and if you haven't already registered, then you do have to register. If you have already registered for DeepSeek, then obviously you enter your email and your password over here. So we are going to sign up. So I will have to provide a valid email address, and I can provide one. It's TechLife, yahoo.com. And I'm going to stop the video here because I don't really want you guys to know what my password is. But as soon as I've done this registration part, basically you provide your passwords over here. A code will be sent to your email, and you type that code in here, and then you click sign up. So I'll be back in 2 seconds. So I've entered my passwords, and I'm going to click send code. And then I'm going to go over to my inbox. Which is on a different box, or a different machine, so you're not going to be able to see that. I'm just going to get the code from my inbox, and if I recall, the email that DeepSeek sends actually goes to your spam folder, so you have to look into your spam folder. Okay, I've got the code. It's 251 483 83. Sign up. I have to click this checkbox here. I confirm that I have read and consent to agree with DeepSeek's terms and terms of use. I've not read those, but I've clicked it anyway, so then sign up. And that's it, you're in. This is DeepSeek. The first thing we need to do is, in order to use the reasoning model, we have to click this button up here. And then if we wish to allow DeepSeek to reach out to the internet if it needs to get additional information when you provide a query, then we can click this. So this allows it to jump onto the internet and source any information from the internet. So as mentioned before, DeepSeek is a reasoning model, so apparently it's more suited to addressing mathematical and scientific problems. So let's put that to the test. We can literally type anything in here, but we're going to type in, let's do something easy first. What is the square root of 1000? So, okay. Here you can see that it's doing the thinking process. And then once it's completed this thinking process, then it'll start doing the reasoning. And it'll be almost a conversation with itself. When this decides to get to that, then you'll see for yourselves. Okay, so this is the reasoning. So it's okay, I need to find the square root of 1000, and it even puts in things like which, to be honest, I say that a lot when I make my videos. So I'll go through all the reasoning. It'll second guess itself. It'll confirm or try to confirm different scenarios. and eventually it should come up with the correct answer. Nearly there, I think. At least I hope so. And the reason this is taking so long is because the square root of 1,000 is going to be something similar to this 31.6277, and it's going to not be a complete whole number as such. So it'll do things like check with different methods, and then it claims that it's going to think about the answer. It keeps going through different alternatives. It's going to come to around a conclusion in terms of the answer is going to be around 31.6 something. Yeah, so it's 31.623 or 31.62276. Cool. So that took longer than I expected it to be honest. Let's do something like what is the root of 100? Hit return. So again, it's going through that thinking process. And this time you'll see that once it starts doing the reasoning, it'll make reference to the previous question that we asked. So previously asked what is the square root of 1,000. So it says after previously asking about the square root of 1,000, let me start by recalling. So it goes back to what it might have learned in the previous query in order to resolve this present query. And this time it's come up with the square root of 100 is 10. And obviously calculating the square root of 100 was somewhat more simpler and quicker than the square root of 1,000. So cool. So it's pretty good with maths. Let's give it another one just to make doubly sure. We can say what is the differential of 1 over x and again it's going through our thinking process. Cool. And the answer there is minus 1 over x squared. So those were mathematical queries. Let's give it something computer related. Let's ask it something like, what is polymorphism? Have I spelled that right? Polymorphism. So it's having a think. It's probably thinking he spelt it wrong. It looks okay. It's taking some time thinking. So as mentioned, sometimes the thinking process is a few seconds. Sometimes the thinking process can be a few minutes. Because the user asking about polymorphism, I need to make sure I explain. And it's realized it's an OOP concept. And obviously in Java, is a object-oriented programming language, so it does make reference to Java, but also .NET, C Sharp, VB.NET. They all use polymorphism as a concept. So it actually gives you examples of what polymorphism is and how it's applied when it's applied in the real world. So it's given an example of a play button. So think of a play button in a media player. The same button behaves differently depending on the file. So if it's playing a video or if it's playing an audio. Cool. Let's give it another one. What is a delegate in C Sharp? So again, it starts off like the user is asking what is a delegate in C Sharp. Apparently it remembers stuff. Right, in C Sharp, delegates are classes derived from system.delegate. To summarize, so it actually produces some examples of code of delegates. It gives you common uses of delegates, event handling, callbacks, and link. So delegates in C# provide a flexible, type-safe way to encapsulate and invoke methods, enabling powerful patterns like events and callbacks. A delegate is a type-safe reference to a method with specific signature. So DeepSeek is able to define quite complex programming theories. It's also able to write programs for us. So we can do something like create a simple single user arcade game in C#. Let's see what it does here. I like the way it starts off with OK. Okay, the user wants me to create a simple single user arcade game. And then it goes, all right. And let me structure the code, start initializing the game, potential issues. So this is doing all the reasoning, drawing the game. So I found it's going to create a game called Snake. It's already started writing the code, and there's no way I could type that quickly. If statements, spawn food method, clear method. That was quick. Now it's listing out how to play the game, technical components, potential enhancements to the game. Amazing. That was amazing. Super quick. The only problem with the C# code is we'd have to copy this out and get it compiled, and then we could run it into in a console. Let's see if we can't make life easier by doing something like convert this code to JavaScript. Convert this code to JavaScript. Just having a think. Start off with OK again. Let's tackle converting to C#. Snake game into JavaScript. For the game loop instead of while loop. So it's not going to use a while loop. Potential issues, and then straight away into creating the code. Amazing. So that's the end of the code, and now it's listing out the features, how to play, potential enhancements. Amazing. Okay, so the good thing about JavaScript is we can just click this run HTML button here. We can play the game. I should have read the how to play the game, to be honest. Okay, so we can't touch the sides, and we use the arrow keys to move around, and as soon as I touch the side, then I lose and it's game over. I think the object is to build a snake by bringing this block and joining up to here. Let me try one more time. Cool. So that's a really simple, straightforward, potential 1980s game, but it was built in seconds. I didn't write a single line of code. DeepSeek did everything for me. We wrote the code in C# first, and then we converted it into JavaScript. We could have just as easy have created the code straight in Java code. JavaScript. We can do that. I'll show you that now. So we can do something like, oops, no, I don't want DevTools. So I can type in create a simple single user arcade game in, hopefully it won't create the same one in JavaScript. It always starts off with OK. The user wants me to create a simple single user arcade game in JavaScript. Let me think about what kind of game will be both fun and easy to implement. It's talking about CSS. I'm hoping it doesn't create the snake game again, otherwise this is a pointless exercise. Space Invaders, well, cool. So that is amazing. The code is slightly longer for this. Firing projectiles. It's written the code. Telling us the code runs on any modern browser. Potential enhancements, key components. How to play, open in a browser, left and right arrow keys, press the spacebar to shoot. And that's the run button, so let's click on that. Oh, it's a bit laggy, to be honest, but I mean, I haven't, oh, sugar. I am really impressed with that, to be honest. I am genuinely impressed. I didn't think it was going to be that good. So it can handle mathematical questions and computing and coding questions. So what else can DeepSeek handle? Something scientific. We could ask it, what is the most abundant gas on Earth? So it's going through the thinking process. The question is asking what the most abundant gas on Earth is. Wait for the question. Starting with atmosphere. Wait. It keeps saying wait. The oceans have dissolved gases like oxygen. Another point, some sources might mention water vapor, greenhouse gas. So it goes through all this reasoning process and it actually considers stuff that you wouldn't even really think about, to be honest. So nitrogen. Thus nitrogen, N2, is the most abundant free gas on Earth. Cool. What else could we ask it? What is the hardest natural natural substance on Earth? So it's come up with diamond straight away. The hardest natural substance on Earth is diamond. It scores a perfect 10 on the Mohs scale of mineral hardness. Excellent. Okay, so lastly, we could probably get it to do something in terms of literature. So we could get it to maybe create a short story. And ChatGPT is really good at doing stuff like this, whereas DeepSeek tends to be more mathematical, computing, scientific. But I'm sure it's not going to struggle to create a short story. So create a short story of a great warrior. So create a short story of a great warrior. Not a great query, to be honest. So I wouldn't be surprised if it struggled with this. So it's already created the name of the great warrior. Saying due to technical issues, the search service is currently unavailable. Here's a short tale of valor and sacrifice. So it's writing about a great warrior called Kale. And I did say short story, but it seems, oh, okay, that's quite short. That's not too bad. The last stand of Kale Ironwind. Excellent. Sounds like a great warrior. The villagers called him Stormbreaker, named not for the weather, but from the tempest of blades he wielded. Kale Ironwind, a warrior whose scars outnumbered his years. Blah blah blah. Kale had sworn an oath to protect the stone. So it did create a story, and it's actually a pretty good story. Far better than anything I would have been able to create in that amount of time. Excellent. Okay, so let's move on to looking at how we can run DeepSeek locally. So I'm going to show you two ways. The first way to run DeepSeek locally is by heading over to our browser, and we're going to do a search for something called Ollama. So it's top one here, Olama. And what we need to do here is download a version of Olama. And since I'm running Windows, I'm going to download the Windows version. If you're running Mac or Linux, you will obviously select the appropriate one. So let me download this one. And in order to run Alarma, you're going to have to ensure that you're running a Windows PC, which is either Windows 10 or later. Just waiting for it to download. Okay, so download is complete. If we head over to our download folder, we should be able to see it. And we double click this in order to install it. It might take a few minutes for the installation to complete. Let's get you up and running. So click on install. And this will take a few minutes. And it might take actually more than a few minutes. So I'm going to stop the recording and I'll get back to you as soon as this download is complete. Okay, welcome back. The download is complete. The next thing to do is head back over to the llama.com website and then click on models. And from here we can download a model of DeepSeek R1. We have 1.5B, and the B stands for billion. And the billion refers to billion parameters. So in DeepSeek, a parameter refers to a variable within the AI model that can be adjusted during training. Essentially, it acts like a weight that determines how the model processes input data and then generates the output. The more parameters a model has, the more complex and potentially the more powerful that model is. And apparently it's very similar to how neurons work in a human brain. So 1.5 billion is obviously less than 671 billion. So the 671 billion model is going to be far more powerful than the smallest model over here. Having said that, we're going to have to be mindful in terms of which model we select. Having a large model like the 671 billion, that is going to require an enormous amount of hardware resources, and most people are not going to have the hardware, the servers, and the infrastructure to be able to run a model as big as the 671 billion parameter model. And in all honesty, most people are not even going to have enough hardware resource to do the run the 70 billion or maybe even the 32 billion. And I think most people would probably struggle with the 14 billion. So I'm going to actually go for the 7 billion. I've tried the 8 billion, and my PC is not the best in the world. It's quite old. It's an i7, but it's I think a fourth or fifth generation i7, so it's not brand new. And it was sluggish when I was running the 8 billion. So I'm going to drop it down to 7 billion. So let's click on 7 billion. And then what we need to do is copy this command, Control C. We can either do Control C or we could have clicked on this copy button. And then we head back over to our PC and we go to the command line. And I'm going to paste that command into the command prompt and hit return. And now this is going to go off and download that 7 billion parameter model, and it'll install it locally on our PC. And again, this is going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to stop the recording and restart as soon as this is done. So we're just finishing off the the download and install of the 7 billion parameter model. The team at DeepSeek claimed that the reasoning patterns of larger models can be distilled down to smaller models, resulting in better performance when compared to reasoning patterns discovered through RL on small models. So these models with relatively smaller parameters are still extremely powerful. We've got the success message here. And it's going to take a few more seconds for us to get a prompt where we can start typing in our query. So just to recap on why we might want to download and run DeepSeek locally, basically doing it this way means that you don't transfer any of your data to any servers, regardless of where those servers are sitting, whether they be in China or the US or wherever. And secondly, these models don't reach out to the internet. So again, your data is completely safe. Okay, cool. So it's saying we can do a backslash question mark for help. So let's try that. And so it gives us a list of help commands. So backslash sets the session variable. Backslash actually that's a forward slash. So it's forward slash question mark. So forward slash show the model information. So let's do that one. Okay, comes up with another set of commands. So as it show forward slash show info. Okay, so if we type in show info, it says it gives us the architect. It gives us the model's parameters, so 7.6 billion, and then a host of other things. What if I do forward slash clear? No. Clear the session. Okay, cool. Anyway, so let's ask it a query then. What is the I'm going to spell this correctly first. What is the square root of 1000? So we're going to do that one again. So it's having a think. So it didn't take too long to think. Even though I selected the 7 billion parameter model, my PC is still a bit laggy. It's not quite as fluid as it was when it was online. But I'm sure it will get around to answering the question. And if you recall, answering this question online did take a good amount of time because it doesn't come back with a whole number. Obviously, the square root of 1000 is, I think, what was it, 31 something, 31.6222, something like that. And we'll test it again after this with the square root of 100, and I'm pretty sure the square root of 100 will come back somewhat quicker than this. Nearly there, I think. And to find the square root of 1000, we can follow these steps. Number one, understand the concept. Square root of a number, blah, blah, blah. Number two, identify perfect squares near 1000. 40 to the power 2 equals 16. 30 to the power 2 equals 900. Since 1000 lies between 900 and 1600, its square root must lie in between. Oh, okay. So I did actually stop the recording because it was taking a good amount of time, but it did actually get there, and it probably took about 5 or 6 minutes, and then eventually came out with the answer of 31.62. So let's try what is the I can't seem to spell square. Square root of 100. hopefully this will be a lot quicker. So it's having a think, and it starts off with all right. All right. So I'm trying to figure out what the square root of 100 is. Okay, let's start by understanding what a square root actually means. From what I remember in the math class, the square root of a number is another number. When multiplied by itself gives you the original number. So again, this might take some time. Let's think about it. I'll take other numbers. 9 times 9 equals 81, which is less than 100. Yep. 11 times 11 is 121, which is greater than 100. So it must be 10 times 10. So there are no whole numbers between 9 and 11. It is indeed 10. Well done. Let's give it one more question and then we'll move on. What can we get it to do? Okay, write a C# program to calculate pi. Write a C# program to calculate pi. Let's see what it does with this one. It's doing the thinking. It's done the all right again. I need to write a C# program to calculate pi. Let me think about how to approach this. What is pi? Yeah, what is pi? Pi is the ratio of circles. Pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, approximately equal to 3.4159. There are various methods to calculate pi with high precision. One common method I've heard of is Leibniz's formula. Don't know how to pronounce that, which is an infinite series. Okay, so I can use the formula to calculate pi in a loop, but since computers have limited processing power and the time, calculating up to infinity isn't feasible. So it's outlining the steps now. Initialize variables, loop through iterations for each iteration from 1 to 10,000. Calculate the reciprocal of the current odd number, e.g. for the first iteration. It's a fraction. Okay, now it's ready to translate the logic into C# code. It's claiming it needs to use a loop structure in C#, probably a for loop. Since it's best for counting iterations, let me also consider variable types. Since we're dealing with floating point arithmetic to maintain precision, using double data type would be appropriate. Cool. Here's how I can write each part of the code. Initialization C#. Pi is of type double, is equal to 0, so it's initializing the variables. Start with a positive sign, and then it's going to do the iteration using a for loop. I is int equal to 1, I is less than or equal to 10,000, I plus plus. So iterate I. Denominator is the integer equals 2 times I minus 1. Pi equals pi plus the sign of that. So it's writing the code. So again, I'm running the model locally. My machine is not the best in the world, so it is somewhat lethargic. Running bigger models would make this even more painful. Running a slightly smaller model would probably be a lot quicker. obviously, if you've got a more powerful box that you can run the model on, then this 7 billion or even the 8 billion parameter models will be workable for yourselves. So it's written the code, and it's saying this program calculates an approximate value of pi using that person's formula with 10,000 iterations. The more iterations you use, the closer approximation to the actual value of pi. Keep in mind that while this method is simple and easy to implement, it's not the most efficient way to calculate pi. There are other algorithms and formulas that cover formulas that converge faster, especially for high precision calculations. So it's written the code, and it's doing a brief explanation on the limitations of the code. Let's maybe create a short story, and then we'll move on to looking at something else, the second way of running this model locally. So let's give it a query, write a short story about a brave warrior. So it's done the thinking, did the thinking quite quickly, and now it's doing the reasoning. All right, so I need to write a short story about a brave warrior. Where do I start? Good question. Okay, first of all, what defines a brave warrior? Story begins on a clear spring morning. The castle is quiet as Cedric feels an unease. So he started writing the story now. Something's wrong in the north. His brother Sir Rupert, so he's got a brother as well, is supposed to be with him for the battle, hasn't arrived yet. Cedric heads out into the forest. His mind is racing. He senses danger and knows he must act. He senses danger and knows he must act alone as he ventures deeper. To the Count Alden, they're tough, but Cedric's resolve is tested. Story is concluding. Thank goodness for that. So Cedric returns home, celebrated as a hero. His name forever stands as a symbol of valor. So not only did it write the story, but then it did a really in-depth summary as well. And so we can move on to the last part of this video. So you can see that all of these queries are typed into the command prompt. We're just using the command line in order to type these in, so it's not super user friendly. So the second way to use DeepSeek locally is to use it through a slightly better and more user-friendly user interface. In order to do that, we head over to our favorite browser. We're going to do a search for something called anything LLM. Bit of a tongue twister, and we click on this first result. And then we'll download anything LLM, and obviously you'll download whatever flavor of the software is applicable to your operating system. I'm running Windows, and I'm running Windows 64, so I'll download that. And so the download begins. This will take a few minutes. So that's complete. If we head over to our downloads folder, and then we install this, anything LLM. Okay, so it's just finishing doing the install for anything LLM. Click on finish. Cool. So that's the install done. If we go to anything LLM, we start that. And this should fire up in a second or two. Okay, so we are in anything LLM. The first thing we need to do is create a new workspace, and we do that by clicking new workspace, and we give this workspace a name. I'm going to call it DeepSeek 01 just to be original. Save that. Okay, once we've got a workspace, then we can just type our queries in down here. Very similar to what we did with the online version and the Llama version. So let's type in what is the square root of 100. And so as you can see, it's going to do the thinking process and then it'll do the reasoning, but this interface is somewhat more user-friendly than just using the command line. You have to have Llama running in the background, and anything LLM then sits on top of that. And here we go. So the user is asking for the square root of 100. Again, it's not super quick, but that is purely down to the limitations of my hardware. It says I recall that 10 times 10 equals 100, therefore the square root of 100 is 10. Okay, that's cool. The square root of 100 is 10. Oh, that was quick. Let's give it one more. Write a very short story about a fearless warrior. Okay, so I need to write a very short story. That's a good start. While it's doing this, I can explain. This is anything LLM. There is another very similar tool called LM Studio, which can be downloaded from lmstudio.ai, and again, it works exactly or very similar to anything LLM. It provides this friendly user interface for DeepSeek. Okay, so it's naming the warrior. Let's name him Rook. And it starts in a peaceful valley where everything is green and free from danger. This contrast sets up his courage. Then a sudden spark of lightning ignites the valley, setting Rook and everyone around on fire. Oh, okay. So all of this is done locally. DeepSeek, when you run it on your own hardware, doesn't reach out to any servers in China. It doesn't reach out to anything online. So it's all contained, and it's probably the safest way to run DeepSeek. But as I said at the start of this video, if you're prepared to type these queries into ChatGPT or Gemini, then there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be doing the same for DeepSeek. And now it's writing the story. I'm not going to wait for it to finish writing the story. I'm sure you've got a gist of how to use DeepSeek both online and locally. That's it for this video. Hope you have enjoyed watching it. If so, please do hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much.